How's it going, guys, and welcome to this last Lost Media special for TV shows. Yes, this is the final one. I've decided to end it here. There's only 4 on the schedule for December, and that's it. Just for TV shows. I will be doing more movies, but if you have more suggestions for TV shows that have been lost, please put them in the comments, and I will choose the best ones to do in January, because in January I am going back to doing TV shows, so that should be very good. But this is the final one. Finally, I'm doing an international show, one from the United States. I usually do Australian ones because they're just so much more relatable for me. And I knew so much about the backstory for the last 3 ones, and they were a lot easier for me to do. But this one is pretty well known. People know about this one, and one of my favorite YouTubers, Blame It On George, has actually talked about this in his video, Top 40 Lost and Banned Episodes of Kid Shows. So the US version of Double Dare aired on Nickelodeon from 1986 to 1993, and there were so many episodes that are now to this day lost. And since its airing, out of the 525 episodes that were aired, only 380 were found and put on the internet. Because this was a really popular game show in the 80s and 90s, heaps of people have been trying to find these lost episodes. There's over 150 lost episodes of this show. There are so many kids who used to watch this in the 80s and 90s who have grown up wanting to find all these lost episodes because they're still a fan of this show, because this show had so many fans, not just in the United States, but all over the world. We did have an Australian version of this show. There was Family Double Dare and just Double Dare Australia. It wasn't called Double Dare Australia, they just called it Double Dare. And I don't think Double Dare ran for that long. I think Family Double Dare was popular for a little while, but that just looked ridiculous. That was hosted by Larry Ender, and there were just McDonald's advertisements all over the set, and it just looked so stupid. The lost media story of Double Dare comes from a kid who broke his arm in the airing of an episode, and the episode was never aired. There was another episode of Double Dare called Old Timers that was never aired, but this one is the more well-known one that was never aired. So there was a kid who came to the show that had a condition with his bones that made them way more fragile than the average contestant. He lied about it on the application form and got into the show, of course. And you can imagine what happened. Double Dare was a show all about doing all this physical games as well as answering questions, and it was all in this huge big studio. So you could imagine that this kid in one of the games would break a bone. And yes, he broke his arm. The kid's dad was a lawyer, and Nickelodeon were shitting themselves going, oh crap, his dad could just sue us for all we have. So they just never aired the episode and gave the kid a small prize in compensation. It's really interesting because I think it's more prominent with game shows never airing the episodes, because someone I knew actually went on Family Feud with his family and the episode was never aired. He went to film the show with the host Grant Denyer and actually filmed the whole episode, but it was never aired on television. So I'm guessing with most game shows there's a handful of episodes they don't air, maybe even more, just because there were probably some really bizarre moments in the episode. This one's really interesting. There's been speculation all over the internet to whether or not Nickelodeon still have this in the archives or if it was just thrown out. I think they definitely still keep it, but in my opinion, I think the episode wasn't fully aired. This is just a theory I have, because the kid did break his arm, and that would mean he wouldn't be able to participate in any of the other games of the show, and they probably stopped filming the episode, and that's why they couldn't air it, because they didn't have the full copy of the episode to make it legit for airing. So I'm guessing that after this kid broke his arm, they cut the episode and they were like, okay, let's get this kid to the hospital. Alright, so we won't film the rest of the episode, stop it right there, and that's where they stopped it, and they never filmed the rest of the episode. That's just a theory. A game theory.
That's just a theory. A game theory.
That's just gonna be a recurring joke. So this kid must have been a huge fan, and when he went on the show, he did the game called the Sewer Shoot. I'm not a fan of this show. I don't know much of the backstory. It wasn't my time. I wasn't old enough. I was born long after this show, and I grew up with completely different game shows, so I don't know a lot about this show. But the game this kid broke his arm on was called the Sewer Shoot. The Sewer Shoot. The Sewer Shoot. Sewer shoots down by. So we went down the sewer chute and didn't get up for a few seconds. I don't know if it was the host or the kid, but someone thought he died because he didn't get up for a few seconds after going down the chute, and that's where he broke his arm. So that's it. Nickelodeon gave the kid a small prize of compensation. They never aired the episode. They were worried about being sued, so they just cut it there. I hope this episode gets released someday. If Nickelodeon still have this episode in the archives, they should release it. They won't freaking get in any trouble. It's almost been like 25 years since this show was popular. I mean, it's not gonna happen. The kid's dad's not gonna come back and be like, you aired the episode. I don't think the kid's dad even cared. I think they just never aired the episode because they were so worried about this kid's dad being a lawyer. So they were just like, oh shit, we're not gonna air this. This is full on. Thank you so much for watching, guys. That was the last TV show Lost Media. I'll be back with some more movie Lost Medias. There'll probably be only 3 more movie Lost Medias in December, but in January I'll be going back to TV show Lost Medias and some more movie Lost Medias. I love doing Lost Media. It gets me views. It's good when you can find a formula on your YouTube channel that's fun to make and gets you views. I very rarely come across something on my YouTube channel that's fun to make and gets me views. I think this is the first time I've ever come across something on my YouTube channel that was fun to make and got me views, so that's good. You know? Yeah. Obviously, uploads on this channel won't usually be every day. They'll usually be every second day. But I'll try my best to upload every day. It's hard, you know? Thanks for watching, guys. Yeah. Cheers. I double dare you to like this video. If we can shoot for 500 likes, guys. 500 likes. We want 500. Just stop making videos. That'll do, pig. That'll do.